All right, are we here, everybody? Everybody's here? Yes? Awesome. Welcome to this amazing debate with 7 awesome candidates. Thank you so much for coming.
And me.
Yes? I have to my right, if I get it in the right order, Dr. Charles Ballay. You should clap now.
Please clap.
Mr. Art Olivier. Dr. Michael Rectenwald.
Is that what it says? Is that what it says?
Mike Termott. Chase Oliver. Joshua Smith. And Jacob Hornberger. This is going to be a rather long debate with 7 people. We're going to start with an opening statement, which will go 1 minute. We're then going to do through a couple of questions for them to kind of pitch back and forth, which they were unaware of, so this will be a surprise for them. Then I'm going to ask them to critique a pitch. They didn't know that. This is now a new surprise for them. We'll do that. It'll be 90 seconds to do a pitch. I will explain that in a moment. We will then have questions. I will have some questions that you have asked. I have them here. I'll take some of those. And I will also ask you at the end to go to that mic right there and to ask some questions also. So there will be audience participation and some back and forth here, and then a 1-minute closing statement. That's the format. We should be out of here no later than Thursday. No later. Yes, well, we hope to get out by Thursday. That's our hope, yes. So I want to start, if I could, with opening statements. And when you have 10 seconds left, you will see me put my hand out like this. You will now know you have 10 seconds left to wrap it up. We're going to start with 1 minute, if I could. We'll start with Dr. Ballay and go down just like that. Good doctor, 1 minute.
First of all, thank you all very much for the opportunity to be here. This is quite an honor, and it's very touching to be in this state, particularly at the 250th the anniversary of the first congressional convention. This country needs a third party. We need a third party to offer a civilized approach to governance. Right now, there's far too much vehement rhetoric that's destroying this country. This party can actually bring some semblance of normalcy, I believe, to this country because we have good values. These values that we espouse of personal autonomy, of freedom, of fair taxation. We appreciate fair immigration. This party has a banner, or is posed for a banner year this year, if we play our cards correctly. I am a physician. I'm from South Louisiana. Most of you do not know me and have not heard of me. I came from a low-income family. My family espoused values such as education and hard work. And with those values, I've been able to foster a much better way of life and now stand before you hoping to somehow get enough votes this May to represent this party. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Olivier, 1 minute, please.
Yeah, I was your candidate in the year 2000 for vice president. I ran against the esteemed Ken Krawchuk. And we had about a half a dozen people that were vying for the VP candidacy that year. It came down to 3 of us. And so I was in second, Ken was in third. And Ken decided that he didn't have enough votes to win. He withdrew, and he endorsed me, and that put me over the top, and I became your vice presidential candidate. So thanks to Ken Krawchuk. And so I used to be the mayor of Bellflower, California, which is next to Long Beach, and did a lot of the things that libertarians say we're going to do, like cutting taxes, stopping eminent domain, privatizing services. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Rectenwald, 1 minute, please.
Well, hello, Pennsylvania, home of the Ron Paul Revolution, home of the American Revolution. My name is Michael Rectenwald. You call me Rec. I'm in this to win the nomination because I think this party needs to be represented by the maximum ideals of liberty. We cannot fall short. We must go for the gold, and that is anarcho-capitalism and decentralization and localism. And I'm also in it to win it because I think I'm the best candidate who understands the threats that beset us today. not only the Federal Reserve's erosion of our dollar, not only the military-industrial complex, the security state, et cetera, but also the censorship industrial complex and a whole slew of others that I will talk about tonight. Thank you so much.
Now, Mr. Michael Termott, 1 minute, please.
Thank you very much. And apparently we're talking about whatever it is that Larry wants us to talk about tonight, so we're all excited to find out what that's going to be. I'm very excited to be here and to share our campaign with you. As you probably all know, our campaign is, in my view, the one that is set up to actually bring a credible competitiveness to the process of actually disrupting American politics. Our job, in my view, is to interrupt the Republican and Democratic Party's ability to continue to completely disregard our values, to disregard our principles, to disregard our political positions, and to disregard us. This is why we're in it. And remember, we do not do this on our behalf. We do this on behalf of people around the United States, people whom we call brothers and sisters for no other reason than that they are fellow Americans. If we don't stand up for them, you know nobody else will. Thanks a lot.
Mr. Chase Oliver, 1 minute, please.
My name is Chase Oliver. I want to be the Libertarian candidate for president. I got started being a Libertarian because I was anti-war to the core, and I wanted to oppose the warfare state that exists around the world, and I want to be a voice for the anti-war movement that does no longer exist in the two major parties. I want to build our party from the foundation up. I have 4 metrics of victory that can tell me if our campaign is a success outside of winning the White House. How many states can we win ballot access so it's easy for libertarians to run all over the country? How many states can we win major party status so we get more media attention, primaries, and other things? How many winnable, electable libertarians can we identify and have my campaign travel out there, knock on the doors, get the attention of them, and push them across the finish line of victory? And I make this commitment to each and every one of you. If I'm our nominee in 2024, I want to double our party's membership, and I'm not committed not just to be our nominee for 1 year, but to stay committed for the next 4 years, to keep that doubled membership, hold on to it for 4 years, so next time around we have twice as many activists, twice as many donors, and twice as many energy in the Libertarian Party. We're going to build it from the foundation up, and as we do it, we're going to tear the state down brick by brick. Go to votechaseoliver.com. Thank you very much.
Mr. Joshua Smith.
Hello again, Libertarians of Pennsylvania. Thank you so much for having me here. Look, you guys know me. I've been around the party for quite some time now. I've been running a national campaign basically for the last 8 years straight. I've done 200 round-trip flights. It's been absolutely insane. Look, I'm running for president because I have 7 children. I'm the blue-collar, working-class candidate, middle America. That's who I'm looking to reach. The middle class in this country is dissipating at a rapid rate, and the why is my children. I'm tired of a society that has a federal government that is subsidizing states to separate families. I'm tired of a Federal Reserve that's a giant counterfeiting machine that steals our wealth through a tax called inflation to prop up a much bigger warfare state that keeps us at war around the world in wars that we don't support at all. I'm just sick and tired, and I want to go out. I want to talk to other blue-collar, working-class people like myself. These are the people that I've been able to reach. These are the people that I was able to reach when I was the #1 recruiter in the party for 2 years in a row. And I think that if you guys go to my website at joshuasmith2024.com, you'll see that we have the right message and the right videos. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Jacob Hornberger, 1 minute, please.
0%. That's what the latest presidential poll shows the Libertarian Party presidential candidate. 0. And I contend that the reason for this 0 is that this party has been putting out a bad message for at least 20 years. Our party and our presidential candidacies, including everyone on this stage with one exception, for example, favor saving Social Security, which is the crown jewel of American socialism, for a party that decries socialism. They also are defined by their support for a vicious immigration control system in one fashion or another, and the police state and the death and suffering that comes with it, with one exception on this stage. I contend that if we're going to restore the sound founding principles of this nation, it is incumbent on this party to restore the sound founding principles of this party of freedom and voluntary charity. And that means opposing all forms of socialism, including the crown jewels of American socialism, and leading this nation with a campaign of pure principle
Mr. Hornberger.
for the party of principle.
So this year, we have a very special situation. We have 3 popular people who are probably going to be running against us as independents. We have Dr. Cornel West, Dr. Jill Stein, and of course, Bobby Kennedy Jr. We know this is going to be people that are going to be looking for our votes and trying to take the votes away from us. Of course, I get that. We should accept that. I want the candidates here to imagine something. Your campaign manager has told you, hey, we've been invited to a non-libertarian single-issue group. It's a single-issue group. They're not libertarians, but they don't want to vote for the person who usually does that thing. So can you give me 90 seconds, 90 by the way, 90 seconds, and tell me and pitch those people and tell them why they should vote for you and not the other. And here are your 3 groups you can pick from. You pick. 1, you have a group of people who are anti-COVID lockdown. They can't stand the COVID lockdowns. They're so mad about it. They are unhappy. But they don't want to vote for Bobby Kennedy. But they are totally anti-lockdown, anti-COVID. They can't stand the regime. They want to get rid of it. You can pick that group if you want to. Or an anti-war group that's very anti-war. They can't stand the wars, are tired of the war, a group, they're 100%, but they do not want to vote for Jill Stein. Or a group that is anti-war and drugs, wants prison reform, wants to change everything, but they don't want to vote for Cornel West. So you may pick one of those 3, and then give us 90 seconds on how you would pitch that group to vote for you instead of one of those 3. Is the question clear, everyone?
I think so.
You get to pick one of those 3, and then pitch that group for 90 seconds on why they should vote for you and not one of those 3 people who ostensibly are the ones who they should be voting for, but they don't want to. Do I have a volunteer to go first?
I'll do it.
There we go. We'll go right down the same line again then. In fact, we'll reverse it. We'll go you, then we'll go Mr. Hornberger and up. So go ahead, please.
Okay, so
What group?
I'm talking to the anti-COVID vaccine.
Anti-COVID.
Right.
90 seconds. Go.
Okay. So I work as a physician. I'm a head and neck surgeon. I was the guy that was putting in trachs for the COVID persons. And so I understand all of the vaccination questions in this country, and I understand a lot of the anti-lockdown rhetoric that goes on. But I can tell you from being on ground that it was real. When the first wave of COVID came around, I was in New Orleans, and it hit, and people were dying hand over fist. You had physicians that were burning out. They were literally going nuts. You had nurses that would go home at the end of the day with blue faces because the masks were on so tight. And at the time, we were praying for something to help this country. I would challenge anyone in this audience or anyone in this country to come up against me and talk about this. At the time of the event, we were praying to God that there was some means to correct this situation because you saw death after death after death. We had tractor trailers putting bodies in. It just did not stop. You would see a healthy individual and people would literally dying. They were stroking out, dying, heart attacks, etc. When the vaccines came around, did I take the vaccine? 100% I did. We were praying to God. There was a reason. Now that the actual virus has changed, of course, we don't need to do this any longer. But at the time, for those who say that there is absolutely no point in this vaccination, they did not see what it is that persons who worked in a hospital saw on a day in and day out basis. I can promise you that. I can stand by it. I have records for it. And I guarantee you that we were correct.
Thank you, Dr. Ballay. Thank you. Yes, thank you. I'm sorry, yes?
Can we change order? Can I go next?
I wanted to have okay, you that excited?
Jacob's on board.
You okay? Fine. Please pick one of those 3, Mr. Maat, and tell us who it is. And
No, I want to pick the same one.
Same one.
Yeah,
Awesome.
the
This
same
is
one.
the
Look,
COVID people. 90 seconds.
We need
go.
to stop making this argument based on science. We need a separation of science and the government in this country, and I would recommend that for countries around the world as well. And I would recommend it for governments at the local and the state level. There is no science argument good enough to convince us as libertarians, and there should never be an argument based on science that's good enough to convince any American that the government has the right to tell you to wear a mask, that the government has the right to shut down your business, that the government has the right to tell you to stay the hell home, squeeze me, or that the government has the right to force you to take, wait for it, a vaccine into your own body. Consider the following example. If there were a vaccine in this world that were absolutely perfect. Imagine that. Imagine a vaccine is, if you take it, you're going to live. If you don't take it, you're going to die. It shuts down transmissibility. Perfect. This is a thought experiment, folks. It shuts down transmissibility and has absolutely no side effects. This is the world's perfect vaccine. It's been tested and it's completely free. Would the government have the right to tell you to take it? No. Thank you very much. This is not a science argument. This is not a science fair. This is not a matter of science. This is a matter of ethics. The government does not have the right to tell you what to do, no matter how stupid I am, and no matter how smart people in the government think they are.
Thank you. Afterwards. Yeah. So I'll keep going down. Chase, are you okay? Mr. Oliver, you're all right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Pick one of those three, 90 seconds.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to the Jill Stein anti-war crowd out here.
Okay, great.
The truth is the left hasn't been an anti-war movement my entire life. The left anti-war movement was an anti-Bush movement, and as soon as Barack Obama became president, the anti-war movement dissolved in this country. If you're really anti-war, you need to be a libertarian, because libertarians have been anti-war since our founding. We were founded opposing the draft in Vietnam, opposing the war in Vietnam, and we have not stopped opposing military adventurism and military intervention all around the world ever since. I am anti-war to the core, and if you're an anti-war voter and I'm the nominee for president and you want to stop wars all over the world, you want to end the war machine, you want to stop our bombs from dropping and killing kids all over the world with our names on it and our taxpayers paying for it, then you should join the Libertarian Party, the only real anti-war party that exists in this country. And if you can't get down with that, all you are supporting is the warfare state in one way or another. Whether it's Ukraine, Israel, Iraq, Iran, anywhere around the world. Every time we fight in a war that's undeclared and that's not defending our sovereignty and defending us from invasion, it's an immoral war crime. Every president in my lifetime was dissolved or should be in prison for war crimes. And if we're going to have somebody who wants to speak out against the war machine, I recommend you dump the Green Party, dump boring Jill Stein, and you get right in line with the Libertarian Party and fight for freedom and anti-war peace in this world. Thank you very much.
All right. I'll keep going down. Joshua Smith, please pick one of those three: COVID, anti-war, anti-drug.
Sure. Surprisingly enough, I'm going to go with the COVID regime as well. Because
there we go.
If you guys have been following me for a while, you know I hate the COVID regime. Mike is right. Mike is absolutely right. Listen, I think 100% the government has no right whatsoever to tell you what to do with your body in any shape or form, unless you've committed a crime, okay, at this point. But
I have.
I know you have. I'm sure as a cop, you've probably committed several. But here's the thing. Bobby Kennedy has spent his life, or at least his older years, litigating malpractice suits. That's what he does. I understand that he seems like he'd be really good on this issue. But I'm telling you, if that COVID vaccine had all of its tests and trials done in a correct manner, he would not have had a problem with it. I guarantee that. I'm sure of it. But here's the thing. We need to take this a step further. I understand that as president, I would make sure that nobody was forced to take a vaccine, mask their children, keep people at their house. I guarantee those things. But also I guarantee that these people need to be held accountable for what they did to us for 4 years. 4 years of the greatest tyranny that we've seen in the United States of America ever. These people need to be held accountable. We need, and listen, I understand that you don't like this, but we need 100%. These people have to face trials. They have to be held accountable. And they need to go to jail. 100%. Never again will we do this to ourselves. Never. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Hornberger, please pick one of those three, and you have 90 seconds.
When I announced my candidacy over a year ago, I said...
Hold on one second. Who are you talking to?
The anti-war.
Anti-war. Thank you.
Yeah. I said that I wanted to be free. That's the main thing that I'm running for in my lifetime. But secondly, I said we need to bring an end to the federal killing machine. Martin Luther King called this the greatest purveyor of violence in the world. And there's no denying that he was right. We don't know how many people they've killed over the last 80 years, but it's got a number in the millions, including some of my schoolmates at VMI that were killed in their beloved little Vietnam War. And when we talk about invasions, occupations, sanctions, embargoes, drug war, immigration controls, we live on a daily basis with death and suffering from the national security state. But it's not enough to be anti-war. We've got to go back to the sound founding principles of this country. John Quincy Adams summed it all up in his 4th of July address in 1821 to Congress, in his speech, In Search of Monsters to Destroy, where he said it is not the role of this government to go abroad in search of monsters to destroy. But then they opened up immigration where anybody fleeing tyranny could come here and not be forcibly deported. But even that's not enough. The root of these foreign wars is the national security state. That was the biggest mistake this country ever made, was to convert the government to a national security state. We need to dismantle the Pentagon, the CIA, and the NSA and restore a limited government republic under the Constitution to our land. That's the root of all of these forever wars that never end.
Thank you. Mr. Olivier, who are you speaking to?
I'm speaking to the anti-war people.
Anti-war. 90 seconds, please.
So, one of the things that I've looked into throughout history is the war propaganda. If you go to art2024.org, and I have an article in there about the war propaganda machine. Every single war is started with propaganda. And there is propaganda about the Ukraine war now. There's propaganda about the slaughter in Gaza. All of these things are justified why we need to go to war. And we're going to war against a country that has 1,600 thermonuclear bombs ready to attack us. We are at war with Russia. Make no mistake about it. Just because we're not using our troops, we're using our money, our resources to fight this war against Russia. And I'm also going up against the Libertarian Party. And I would hope that everybody could go to lp.org, look up Pearl Harbor article. It was on the front page of the lp.org for a month. It's all war propaganda. There's an article in there that justifies the war in Ukraine, the slaughter in Gaza, the World War II. We all need, everybody on this stage and everybody in the audience needs to put pressure on the National Libertarian Party to take off this war propaganda off of our website. It's appalling.
Thank you. Dr. Rectenwald, who are you speaking to?
I'm going to speak to the Robert F. Kennedy supporters. I want to beat on Kennedy, so let's keep it
So
up.
the COVID people it is. Okay, there we go. 90 seconds.
Larry, please don't cut him off.
Okay. What I'd like to know is, why is the United States government funding gain of research? Why are we funding bioweapons? Why are we funding vaccines that are basically meant to counter bioweapons? Was the virus made for the vaccine or the vaccine made for the virus? This is something that we need to get to the bottom of. If the candidate, your candidate or anybody's, fell for the COVID propaganda out front, if they fell for it in the beginning, what makes you think they're going to be able to see through the next wave of propaganda? Like when they come along with Disease X, or when they come along with their climate catastrophism narrative, which is also going to be used to restrict and infringe upon our liberties. We must be up front and ahead of these issues. We cannot be behind them, only talking about them post-hoc. We need to be able to see them in advance, pierce through them, and cut to the core. Bobby Kennedy, by the way, was all for the lockdowns at the beginning of the COVID crisis. He was all for the lockdowns. And it's correct. He would have been for the vaccine if it were properly tested by the right regulatory agencies. This is outrageous. Thank you.
All right. I hope you all enjoyed that. But there is now a tougher one. That was easy. This is a tougher one. Now your campaign manager says, hey, I got a bunch of people who voted for Biden in 2020, and they are no longer, they think it was a mistake, what were they doing? But they hate Trump. They voted for Biden, they don't want to vote for him. They know he is the terrible president, they don't want to vote for him, but they just hate Trump. You now have to get in front of those people and try to convince them that of all the people to vote for, it's you. These are people who voted for Biden. So think about what that mindset is. They voted for Biden, and they hate Trump. How can you get that group of people to say, all right, I'm the guy. Do I have a volunteer to start that one? Chase, please, go ahead.
And
90
it's
seconds.
because I've spoken in front of a lot of these people a lot over the last year. You know, I understand your frustration. I understand you were scared of Donald Trump when you were scared enough to go vote for Joe Biden. But the truth is I don't want you to be voting out of fear. I don't want you to vote against somebody. I want you to have a candidate you can vote for. And so I want to take power out of the hands of the central planners and the bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. and your state house and give it back to you. Because at the end of the day, if you're living your life in peace, your life is your life, your body is your body, your property is your property, and your business is your business, not the government's. And that is a message that can resonate with each and every American. When I talk to parents and I ask them if they have unconditional love for their kids, they always say yes. And I say that means you're going to be their best advocate. You're going to be the person who cares the most for them to succeed, survive, and thrive in this world. So why do we take agency away from parents and we put it in the hands of those centrally planning bureaucrats, the Department of Education, or anywhere else? I seek to remove that power out of them and return it back to you by decentralizing our power back to each and every local individual who can govern themselves in peace. That is a message I think can resonate with those who are sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that's exactly who those voters are, who maybe were scared to vote for Donald Trump, and so they fell into the arms of good old Joe Biden, and now they want something new that they can support and vote for. And that message can ring loud and clear. That message is freedom, ladies and gentlemen. And I can be a great messenger of that to Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, and Independents who are just sick and tired of the BS that they've been served their entire voting lives. Thank you.
Joshua.
You really want me to sell Joe Biden voters?
I do. I want you to pitch Joe Biden voters. Yes,
Here's the
90
thing.
seconds.
Here-
Pitch them.
Here's the thing. This thing is really short. When I talk to the left, I have to understand and realize that the left is right to have a class consciousness. They are absolutely right to do that. Their class analysis is way off the chain wrong, and they don't understand that it's not.
Don't say that you're talking to them.
I am. I am.
Okay.
Relax, Larry. I'm going. Calm down, buddy. This is my debate, okay?
Sorry.
What you have to understand is it's not us versus the rich. It's not us versus the wealthier, the property owners. It's us versus the elite. And we learned that through the COVID era. We learned that from the warfare state. We learned that from the military-industrial complex every single day, that these are the people who actually run this country. APAC, these big giant PACs that lobby our government, have more control than any single person in the country. And they're right to have that class consciousness. And we need to sell to them that we have the correct vision to fight back against the elite class, because it's only the elite and us. That's the only class analysis that makes any sense whatsoever. We need to talk to them about how we are the one party that actually advocates for ending the war on drugs. We are the one party that wants to fix the crisis at the border, truly and honestly. We are the one party that wants to stop the genocide going on in Gaza. We're the one party that wants to stop the funding of the Ukraine and Russian war. We're the only party that wants to do the things that they are looking to achieve. And it's very, very easy for us to sell those things if we speak in a manner that reaches the middle class. Thank you.
Mr. Hornberger, yes, I'm punishing you all by asking you to speak to former Biden voters. Please, 90 seconds.
Me?
Yes.
Yep.
I wouldn't waste my time. Look, if we're talking about the genuine principles of this party, abolishing Social Security and Medicare and every single socialist program, and legalizing all drugs, what are the chances that any Democrat's going to vote for me? It's a waste of time. And that's one of the reasons this party is getting this 0% vote, because we're targeting the wrong audience. We need to find our passionate voters if we're going to get a major breakout in votes of 10 to 15%. And I've contended for 20 years that major breakout is possible. 20 years ago, I ran for U.S. Senate in Virginia against one of the most popular governors in the history of the state, John Warner, chairman of the Armed Services Committee. I knew I wouldn't get one Republican vote, and I didn't care. I knew the Democrats didn't run anybody. They knew they couldn't win, but I knew I wouldn't get one of their votes, and I didn't care either. But I ran a campaign like I'm proposing here, a campaign of pure principle, open borders, abolish all socialism immediately, Social Security, Medicare. I garnered 7% of the statewide vote, not 0.07, 7% with no money. Because there is a constituency out there that loves our principles. They may not join our party, But they're out there, and I have no doubts they have doubled and tripled in size. And that's why I continue to say that if we restore the founding principles of this party, we can achieve a major breakout that is far above the 0%
Thank
that
you.
we're getting with this message.
Thank you.
Was that a two-way race, you said, Mr. Three-way.
Dr. Ballay, I'm asking you to try to convince former Biden voters who are afraid to vote for Trump. 90 seconds, please.
I think it would be hard to do, but I mean, I think you'd have to say, listen, we're a party of principle. I mean, how much better really are you in this day and age? Cost of education's up, cost of gasoline's up. Pretty much everything in life has cost more. You know, back in the day when my grandfather, the Democratic Party was a working person's party, and that's changed tremendously. It's become more of a socialist party. And I think you'd have to go back, and I don't think you're going to sway all the voters, but you'd have to say, you know, for persons who believed in that particular party back in its day, how can this party bring you back to where the Democratic Party once stood? I think it would be a bit of a challenge, but the persons that I know that I respected that were Democrats were actually hardworking individuals that had families and wanted to make these families better, wanted to have a house and put their kids in school and do things that families should do. And that's been lost. I mean, I think a lot of families are being split up by these policies that have become more socialist, where you're getting rid of the family, you're getting rid of the religion, and you're now paying homage to the state. And I think that if you were to find those persons that have common sense in that party, I hate to use that word, but that's what I would think. I think you would probably be able to sway those voters with our message.
Here we go. Thank you. Mr. Olivier, you are speaking to people who did vote for Biden but now are afraid to vote for Donald Trump. How do we get them to vote for us?
I understand your concerns about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the guy that wrote the emergency declaration that gave the governors the powers to shut down our freedoms during the COVID emergency. But it was your Joe Biden that kept that going. We have endless wars from Trump and Biden. You know, now your guy Biden is trying to get us into World War III. Really, a vote for Biden is a vote for Trump. There's really not any difference. You know, you've got these two old guys that get up there in TV and just you know, they say different things, they have different styles, but they do the exact same thing. So just remember that you do have a choice. You can vote for somebody that's going to end the wars, that's not going to helicopter all the money out there, creating the inflation. You know, people think that inflation is higher prices. It's not. Inflation is the inflating of the money supply, and that was done under both Trump and Biden. And so just remember, you've got the choice. You can vote Libertarian, or you can vote for the status quo and a vote for Trump, and it's a vote for Biden, and vice versa.
Thank you. Dr. Rectenwald, I am punishing you also. You have to talk to former Biden voters who are afraid to vote for Trump. 90 seconds, please.
Yes, I mean, listen, most of these people believe that they are voting for compassion and they are voting for some sort of equality and the fair redistribution of wealth and so forth. So what they need what needs to be made clear to them, what you need to understand, is that the welfare state actually produces the misery that it's supposed to address. It actually creates that which it means to address, supposedly. And what you've done is you've ingratiated these so-called compassionate liberals and made them believe that since the welfare state takes care of all these people, it also is entitled to its warfare activities. So the welfare state and the warfare state, I would show them, are intricately wed. They're inextricably wed. So when you're voting for welfare, you're voting for warfare, similarly. So what I would do is, look, there's a lot of unconscious Marxists out there. They don't know they're Marxists because they have absorbed this ideology really almost by osmosis. I would explain to them just how flawed the premises of Marxism are, which, by the way, could have been done in the recent debate with three socialists, but it wasn't. We need to show who and what is wrong with socialism. And that is the premises of socialism entirely are flawed, and I can tell you why. Thank you.
All right. So now what I would like, and in this case, if you want to, you may use. Oh, you haven't gone yet? Oh, sorry. Oh, yes, I didn't check you. I'm sorry.
6 minutes.
You were just so. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm gonna give you 91
5
seconds
minutes to
now.
make it up to me.
You get 91 seconds, Mr. Tremont.
I
Sorry,
appreciate
you
that.
You get 91. Go
Especially,
ahead.
let me say at the onset, I really love these guys, okay? They are smart, they're principled, they're articulate, they're good looking. They give me rides when I lock the keys out of my car. They're wonderful. But those were some of the worst answers I have ever heard out of a libertarian debate. The answer is so obvious that we should not excuse ourselves for missing it. The truth of the matter is that people become Democrats because they believe that that party is going to represent their values. And the truth of the matter is that the White House and Democratic politicians for a generation have let them down. The truth is that we represent their values better than that damn party does. My family, largely Democrats, we don't talk down to them. We don't tell them that it's not worth it. We don't give them philosophy lectures. Tell them the truth. Tell them the truth. If you join that party because you're anti-war, you and your party have gone in two different directions. If you join that party because you thought that that was some sense socially liberal, you're going to stand up for your First Amendment rights, whoa, you and your party have gone in two damn different directions. If you joined your party because you thought it was going to stand up for blue-collar workers, ho, 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 that party left your train station 40 years ago. If you still believe in those values, as I believe you do, welcome home to the Libertarian Party.
Thank you. So you took a little bit of my thunder away, but you do that often, so it's fine. So a little bit of my thunder. The next phase, if we could, is I would like each person to think about one answer they heard from one of their opponents and say, was this effective, ineffective, whatever they feel. Just talk about when this person said it, it was good because, or it was bad because, or it could have been. You're going to critique one of the answers that one of your opponents said, and then that person, you have 1 minute to critique it, they will have 30 seconds to rebut it, and if anybody else wants to rebut it or say something, they may, by putting up one of their cards, they'll get 30 seconds to rebut. They have 4 of them total if they want to use them now or later in debate. Do I have a volunteer to critique? Go ahead, Mr. Rectenwald.
Yeah, I'll start with this one. As much as I love my dear friend Mike, and a finer gentleman couldn't be found on the face of the earth, really. Let me just say this, Mike, it's not enough to reflect people's values back to them. You have to change their values. We have to begin the process of changing values. We need a transvaluation of values. That is, we must change the culture and get libertarian ideas out there from the bottom up. It's necessary to do something more than just reflect what people already believe. We need to change what they believe. That's why this is a program of education as well as a program of propaganda and a program of persuasion. It's also an educative program. We need to make people think differently. Let's be real. We have to create more libertarians. Thank you.
There you go. Mr. Chamat, you have 30 seconds to rebut.
Yeah, that was a terrible answer.
Sure, Mike.
That was truly a terrible answer. That is a misunderstanding of politics of the highest order. The truth is that we already align with their values. We are the anti-war party. There are people out there who are anti-war. They are ready for an anti-war message, and we can give it to them. There are people out there who are fiscally conservative who feel like the Republican Party has left them. We are their natural home.
Thank you. Does anybody else want to rebut that? 30 seconds if you want to rebut. Excellent. Do you want
go back?
to spend one of your chits?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a vital issue,
But then
actually.
take one if you would, grab it and chuck it out.
Grab it and throw it.
Yes.
Okay.
Done. Here we go.
Afuera!
Afuera. Done. Absolutely.
the lion.
Done.
The problem is these people have a configuration of values that aren't consistent. They have an anti-war stance here, a welfare stance there. They're all mixed up. Let's be real. They are confused. And so we need to pierce through that confusion with principles and to teach them why they're wrong. It isn't just, they don't have our values. If they did, they'd be right with us right here, right now. We need to make a legion of these people. Thank you.
All righty. Anybody else want to spend their chip for this? Excellent. Chase, please pick one person, 1 minute.
I would speak to the idea that it's a waste of time to reach out to Democratic voters. I was once a Democrat, and it was because I was an anti-war voter, and it was because a libertarian literally waved me into the tent that brought me to liberty. And it's because I had one libertarian idea, that I was anti-war to the core, and he said, welcome home. Let's connect your anti-war views with the rest of the philosophy of liberty. That's the kind of candidate I want to be. I want to find that libertarian issue in each and every voter. Are you tired of the warfare state killing kids overseas? Welcome home to liberty. Are you tired of immigrants being treated like crap by government instead of letting them come here and work and start their American dream? Welcome home to liberty. Are you tired of seeing your land being stolen to build a wall at the border or put a pipeline through your farmland? Welcome to liberty. Whatever their issue is, we need to bring them into the tent and be evangelical libertarians and connect their one libertarian idea with the greater philosophy of liberty. That is how we create new libertarians. That's how we build a foundation of success. And that's how we start winning elections and tearing down the authoritarian state together. Thank you.
There you go. Mr. Hornberger, you have 30 seconds to rebut if you would like.
No, I have no rebuttal.
Okay. Does anybody want to use their card to rebut? Excellent. Next on the line, Josh.
Yeah, I'd like to go back to Dr. Ballay down there. Listen, I heard what you were saying about the first wave of this sickness, okay? And that's the same narrative that the government and the media and the regime got to use to lock us down for 4 years and force us to either lose our job or take an experimental vaccine. You look, 4 years later, we have doctors and nurses coming out saying that they watched the trachs kill people. They watched the remdesivir kill people, okay? This was an absolute mess from the beginning because of protocols that in most hospitals are set by big pharma, okay? Some 24-year-old rep in high heels that comes into the hospital, sits down with the board with a bag full of sandwiches and says, you guys got to prescribe this new medicine. It's terrible, terrible. Protocols in the hospital today are some of the worst they've ever been in our country, and it's because of socialized healthcare, subsidized healthcare, and the media narrative on healthcare. Thank you.
Okay.
So-
Hold on. I'm going to give you time. So, yes, Dr. Ballay, you have 30 seconds to respond. Please go.
Okay, so to clarify my position, I don't think the government should have to tell you this, but I would also like to give a little history lesson. Back a few years ago, Alton Ochsner, who was actually a very prominent physician in this country, tried to develop a polio vaccine, and he administered this to his granddaughter, who actually died. Jonas Salk thereafter came through and actually produced a vaccine that we all take to this day. Now, I don't know who's taken a polio vaccine in here, but it's probably about almost close to 100%. So while I'm not advocating for the government to actually mandate you take that vaccine, pretty much all of us have actually have taken a polio vaccine, and it's actually eradicated it.
Do you want 30 more seconds?
No, I'm good.
Okay, good. Excellent. Does anybody else?
Yeah, sure. I'd like to just comment on the polio vaccine.
Take one of yours and check it out.
Oh, well, if you, all right,
Afuera.
here.
There we go.
Afuera.
Afuera. There we go.
I'm the
Yes.
lion.
Yes.
All right. Look, first of all, I'd like to just address the polio vaccine, which came out long after polio rates had dropped immensely. Absolutely way, 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 way down. If you get the opportunity, go read The Moth and the Eye Are Long, a biography of polio. It'll tell you all this stuff. It's been a narrative since the beginning. It's absolutely horrendous. I'm tired of hearing medical doctors talk about this stuff repeatedly. Thank you.
Check.
Okay.
So part of the reason this party only gets about 0 to 1% of the vote is because we go on the fringes and start talking like this. I would challenge you the next time disease X comes along, volunteer at the hospital. We could use lots of help because we couldn't get enough people. Right now you can't get
I
enough
worked in
nurses.
healthcare for 10 years, Mr. Blake.
Well, please come on back because we'll love to have you.
You have more time if you want.
Oh, well, so the COVID actually created a huge nursing problem. You can't get them because there's now travelers nurses. No.
Calm down. Calm down. Calm down.
Sergeant at Arms. Sergeant at Arms.
Stop. Josh, you're going to get me in trouble, Josh. Stop. Don't get me in trouble. Don't get me in
Larry,
trouble.
everywhere you go, somebody
Everywhere
gets
I go,
thrown
I'm
out.
throwing people out all the time. Stop. You guys are going to get me in trouble.
And I can't fire anyone. I just work.
All right. Thank you for that. Let's see. Mr. Hornberger, would you like to take 1 minute to critique or even to say it was good, somebody's response.
Yeah, I'm going to take all the people on that have been talking about COVID. And notice there's a significant absence of a point they all make, and that is the separation of healthcare and the state.
No.
Because they all believe that the state should be involved in healthcare and Medicare and Medicaid and these socialist programs, but then they complain about the abuse of power. When our founders were faced with this, with state churches, their solution was not to sit here and criticize all the state church people. Their solution was get government out of religion. And that is where we need to lead America, to the separation of healthcare and the state at both the federal and state level, so that we don't have to be complaining about abuse of power because they don't have the power to get involved in healthcare at either the federal or state level.
There we go.
Too late. I already flooded. Nope. Too late, buddy. I am the lion.
Hold on 1 second.
Because I get to respond to this.
Hold on.
Fuera.
He can still do it. Okay. Guys, you can all respond to it. It's fine. You can all respond. No worries. Relax. There we go.
That's my card. You can't
Yes.
just recycle my card, Mike. You doodled on that.
Okay. Guys. It's okay. You can all take a piece. It's fine. I'm gonna be good. Josh, I know you're upset. Do your 30 seconds. Go.
Yeah, I've advocated for the separation of healthcare and the state for 10 years, first of all, Mr. Hornberger, Jacob, whatever. So I wish you wouldn't have done that. That was just ill-advised. But here's the thing. You stood in Georgia and told us you had no idea if any crimes had been committed in the COVID regime. You literally spent 10 minutes arguing on this same topic. You are not qualified to make any more remarks on the COVID regime whatsoever. If you sat there for 4 years and watched the COVID regime drag us through the mud illegally, unconstitutionally, and against our wishes, then you don't get to comment anymore.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you. All right. Now, Mr. Tremont, you also wanted to also?
Yeah.
Go ahead, please.
I want the record to show I threw some paper too.
Good. Then you're good.
Okay.
You're good then.
Look, a big part of our campaign is what we call the separation of science and state. And, I'm having deja vu. I said this like 10 minutes ago. So the whole idea that, we're not on board with this is just wrong. And I happen to know, I'll save you guys some paper, these guys are also on board with the idea of separating the medical establishment from government control. This is absolutely critical. We should not be arguing on the basis of how good the vaccine is or how good the science is or how well-intentioned the medical industry is. There should be separation.
Thank you. Does anybody else want to use their...
Yeah, I'd like to add something.
Where's your Afuera
wait,
card, buddy?
You got Afuera. You got to do it. There we go. All
right.
You can.
Here's the thing. We not only saw the state enact certain policies and drive home a certain agenda, but they enlisted all kinds of corporate entities into it. They enlisted big pharma. They enlisted big tech. Breaking down the state is more than the government itself. We must take on the whole configuration, and that includes their apparatuses, which they enlist and enroll to roll out their agenda. It is not enough to take on the government. We must take on the whole configuration that is the state. Thank you.
Excellent. Good. Does anyone else want to use 30 seconds to respond?
No, that was well said.
Okay, there we go. So, Dr. Ballay, please take 1 minute to critique someone, what their answer was.
I will talk to this side of the table. I mean, with regards to COVID. Look, I'm a libertarian. I believe in separation of the government and medicine. But, the party needs to get people on board. And, I'm not speaking to you because I'm some sort of tyrant or I want to think like I'm 100% with the state or I'm with the big pharma. Quite the opposite. I mean, the problem is when you see death after death after death, it begins to change your outlook on why things happen and why you go about trying to do things. And yes, were things done incorrectly? Of course they were. These lockdowns were silly. You didn't need the lockdowns, but everyone was searching for a way to help people. I mean, deep down inside, most people actually care about other people that work in medicine. And that's what you're looking for. So if you're looking at me like somehow I have a government fetish, that's entirely not the case. But I can tell you it changes you when you see this. And not everybody's on board, but I can tell you we need to gain the trust of the American people, and they need to know we want to help this country.
Thank you. There we go. Good. Okay.
Larry?
All right. Was that Yeah.
Point of order.
Yes.
When I gave my 90-minute critique of these guys and they responded, wasn't I supposed to get a 30-second rebuttal?
I think
Oh, did I not do that? You are correct.
think
You are
so.
correct. I'm sorry.
Go
Yes.
for it.
I remembered last time you said you had no rebuttal, but that was a different question. You are right.
Is Bobby Kennedy here somewhere? Is that
I
what's
made a
going on?
mistake here. Please go ahead. Yes.
Thank you. The thing that we have to remember in this COVID thing is that, there's people in this party that have condemned people who took the vaccine. That's 270 million voters. We're talking to straight politics. That's bad politics. Because if they think this party is condemning them because they took a vaccine, I guarantee you, and consider them dumb dupes of the state, they're not going to vote for us. Libertarianism is freedom of choice. And that's what we got to stand for. You're right to take a vaccine or you're right not to take a vaccine. But as soon as we cross that line and start condemning people for the private choices they make, that's bad politics and it's bad libertarianism.
Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you for that correction. I appreciate that. Yes. Chase, did you want to say something?
Yes.
hasn't
I'll
had
just.
his turn.
I'll,
I know, but we're still doing the rebuttals.
I was going to rebut to,
We're still
to
doing
Dr.
rebuttals.
Ballay.
Your turns haven't come yet because we're still doing rebuttals. So
I
yes,
was going to rebut to Dr. Ballay real quick and
Please
just
go
say
ahead.
that, I can understand your lived experience, but the truth is that freedom requires free choices. That when I say your body is your body, that implies full bodily autonomy. And that means you can choose what you want to choose. But what we cannot do is be advocates for one choice or the other. What we should be saying is we should be opposing the state trying to tell us what to do, period. We should look for independent people, not the state, to try to tell us what we should be doing and recommending. And frankly, it's antithetical to the idea of liberty that we as a party should be running on the COVID vaccine was a good idea. I think we're going to lose a lot more voters than we would ever gain by
Thank you.
backing one side or the other, but in particularly backing Big Pharma
Thank
and
you.
the vaccine wholeheartedly.
All right. So anyone else want to rebut what Dr. Ballay said? Okay, excellent. Let's keep moving if we could. Mr. Olivier, please, 1 minute to critique someone.
All right,
they
let's
said.
stay on the COVID train here.
Okay, this is the COVID debate. Okay, there it is. Look what I've done. I'm
So-
sorry, everyone. I apologize. It was not my goal.
So the other name for government-funded science is politics. That's what we have here. I have
So who are you critiquing?
both ends down there.
You got to pick one. Pick one. Come on.
Okay, Dr. Ballay.
There we go.
Okay, so I have a friend that was an administrator for a hospital. And during the COVID lockdowns, they weren't getting regular customers coming into the hospital. They were really dependent on government money. And he was able to get $13,000 for everybody that they declared had COVID, whether they came in with the flu or whatever. As long as you said, that patient has COVID, you get $13,000 from the federal government. If you put them on a ventilator, then it bumps up to $39,000. And very few people survived going on a ventilator. That's true. So that is what we get when we have government-funded science.
Thank you.
Politics.
Dr. Ballay, you have 30 seconds to respond to that.
I will agree wholeheartedly. All the data on COVID is bullshit. And I'll say that out loud because if you came in and you had congestive heart failure and you died, you tested positive for COVID, you were COVID. But, I guess the workaround for that is that when you have a nurse who's putting on an N95 or a gas mask and you're using PPEs around the clock, it costs money. And so I think the data is useless. I mean, garbage in, garbage out, right? I agree with you 100%. At the same time, hospital administrators were trying to keep afloat. I don't have an answer for that. I'm not a hospital administrator. I'm a doctor, right? But I agree.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else want to touch that? Excellent. Dr. Rectenwald, please critique one person for 1 minute.
I already did.
Oh, you did already?
Yeah.
Who didn't?
I did Mike Dermott, yeah.
Did I-
I mean, I double dip, but
Oh, good. Everybody, good. All right, good. Thank you. Everybody. Okay,
No,
good.
trust me, he was quite mean. It was
No,
brutal.
it's all
It was
good.
brutal. He got it. He got his
Mr.
bite of
Hornberger,
the
you
apple.
messed me up, which you see, that's your fault. Yes, no. Totally kidding. Yes.
Ahem.
Yes.
the only one
I
that
didn't
hasn't
get my
gone.
turn yet.
Go, please.
Boy, it's tough to fight for the podium around
It
here,
is.
isn't
It
it?
is. It is.
Look, I would like to give some pushback on this idea of basing our pitch on.
But hold on, who are you pitching
I
to?
think Charles tried this, and I
Charles
apologize.
today.
We don't
Okay.
mean to be piling on. I've got a problem with making our pitch based on our life experience as opposed to the lived experiences of the people to whom we're making the pitch, right? For example, nobody wants to hear me say, oh boy, listen to all the stuff I learned at my crappy job as an economist in the basement of the White House. Nobody wants to hear that. Not even I want to hear about that, right? What we need to recognize is that people had rough experiences during the COVID regime. People lost their businesses. People lost the very dignity of being able to make personal choices for themselves and for their families. People lost their jobs, whether it was their own business or not. People were told what to do. People were told that they had to wear a mask or they couldn't come into a grocery store. This was some weird stuff. That is lived experience that matters, and we need to appreciate that.
Thank
Thanks.
you. All right. Dr. Ballay, man of the hour, you get another 30 seconds, please.
Thank you. Once again, look, I believe in libertarianism wholeheartedly. That's why I'm here before you. I mean, go back to the whole polio thing. We didn't lock down back then. I mean, so why did we in COVID? This was one of the largest infringement upon civil liberties in the history of this country. I agree wholeheartedly. All I'm saying is that in order to get out and get more votes and to make people trust this party, they have to understand that we care about this country. I mean, if we go out and we just throw out rhetoric and say this is horrible, people are going to look at me like, you're a fringe candidate, you have no solution. But we need to espouse our values to the American public.
Thank you. All right. Did I get everybody this time?
Yep. Yes.
I got everybody, right? Okay, excellent. Good. All right. Made it happen. Yay. All right. Did you guys enjoy that or no? Oh, good. Okay, good. There we go.
That's entertainment.
So I do have to keep it entertaining. I do, yes. So I'm going to start now with some questions that you guys gave us. So these are some written questions. I have 4 of them. Each of you will have 90 seconds to answer. If any of you want to rebut again, you can use your chit if you want to. Your afuera, you can do it if you want to. Otherwise, you have 90 seconds to answer. I'm going to start this time, since I haven't, I'm going to start this time with Dr. Rectenwald, and I'm going to come this way. Dr. Rectenwald, and come this way. All right, so the question is, if you either are able to have a good chance either by winning or, hopefully we all win, either by winning or getting a massive platform that the entire country can hear, what is the one libertarian policy you would either advocate for or enact? If you only had one shot, one policy, what would be the one thing you would either advocate for on a massive scale or enact if you actually won? Dr. Rectenwald, can you start with that? 90 seconds.
Yes, I mean, if I actually won, my objective is not to go into the federal government like a white knight and fix all the world's problems from the top down. I would actually advocate to the populace to wrest the power from me and to invest it in themselves at the local level, to decentralize, to create their own self-governance, not for me to fix their problems. I would absolutely get rid of the Fed. I would do a number of I would get rid of the whole security state.
One Fed.
One.
The Fed.
Okay, but
Fed.
that was just a parenthetical, Larry.
Oh.
You're a parenthetical.
What I'm saying is you know, those parentheticals aside, is what I would do would be to encourage people to gain governance of themselves at the local level, to wrest power from the federal government, which I would not want to keep. Thank you.
There we go. Easy. All right, any rebuttal? Wonderful. Mr. Olivier, please, one thing you would either advocate for if you had a massive platform or enact if you won.
No, I wouldn't enact, of course. I would be the commander-in-chief. I would bring home all the troops from 170 countries around the world, and I would bring them back in the United States. There is no reason why we have this massive empire throughout the world. It doesn't make us safer. It makes us in danger, and that would be the easiest thing in the world. And then, of course, I wouldn't allow any of the money that was approved to go to foreign aid simply out of the Olivier administration. It wouldn't move out of this country. So bring the troops home, keep the money here.
All right. This question is much easier than I thought. Neither of you went even close. I'm going to cut it down to 1 minute to answer this question then, so we can save some time. Cut it down to 1 minute to answer this question. Dr. Ballay, you have one thing you can either advocate for and or enact, either one.
I think the largest, or the thing that's really kept most countries, or made what's been the decline of many countries, has been debt. And so my strongest What I would advocate for would be some sort of resolution, bring it to the states. I'm a states' right person. Is the debt GDP ratio? There's been no empire in this world ever that has withstood colonialism, growth. This is by de facto. If we were to decrease this debt GDP ratio, we're going to have to rein in many of this country's problems. The military would have to come home. We can't spend that kind of money. We would have to get much of government out of health care. You would have to get government out of many things in our lives because we just simply wouldn't have the finances for it anymore. Whether it's to go back to some sort of standard GDP ratio, gold standard, whichever, the states would have to decide this. Thank you.
Excellent. There we go. Okay. So, Mr. do you want to rebut? Oh, no. Mr. Hornberger, please, one thing that you would either advocate for or enact.
The worst mistake America ever made was converting our government to a national security state. This is the killing machine. This is what I would advocate for. Dismantling the entire national security state. As Commander-in-Chief, you bring all the troops home immediately. You don't need congressional permission to do that. Bring them home and discharge them into the private sector immediately on their return. Abandon all foreign military bases, including Guantanamo Bay, and then start dismantling domestic military bases, because we don't need this empire of military bases either. This is the giant killing machine that has destroyed this country. That's the root, along with the welfare state, of the out-of-control federal spending, debt, inflation. But we've got to get rid of this national security state if we are ever going to restore the founding principles of this country of peace, prosperity, liberty, and harmony with the people of the world.
Thank you. Mr. Smith.
Like many of my colleagues up here, I feel the same about the warfare state. One of the worst things in the entire history of the world is the evil American foreign empire's foreign policy. It's absolutely detrimental, not just to us, not just to our citizens, but the entire world. Day one, we're bringing our troops home. It absolutely has to happen. We absolutely have to start shutting down foreign military bases. We have to abolish immediately the authorized use of military force that has taken all the power away from Congress and given it directly de facto to the President of the United States and lets him just direct the military anywhere he wants it to go. We have to put the onus back on Congress to declare war if they want war, and then at least then their constituents can see how they feel about killing 500,000 Iraqi children and millions of others around the world. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Oliver, 1 minute, please. The number one thing you would either advocate for or enact.
I wasn't looking for this much consensus at the table, and I hate the fact that I'm going so much after everybody because I'm sounding like a broken record, but we got to dismantle the warfare state that exists in this country. I've been anti-war before I even knew what a libertarian was, and it's because I was sick and tired of seeing our government drop bombs on people, killing innocent people all over the world, and using faulty, fake intelligence from the CIA to justify their actions. And so when people always ask, what's the first thing you're going to take down? Well, it's the first layer of the onion we have to peel away, and that's the 9/11 security state. That starts by pardoning the whistleblowers like Julian Assange and Edward Snowden. It starts by tearing down the entire Department of Homeland Security, root and stem. We didn't have a DHS. We don't need one today, and that includes ICE and other organizations like the TSA that all of us have to go through as we travel across the country as candidates. I would immediately look to get ourselves at the very least, back to where we can have a pre-9/11 kind of conversation, because ever since 9/11, 2001, we've been going in the wrong direction. More death, less diplomacy, less peace. We need to reverse course immediately, and only a libertarian will get that done.
Here we go. Yeah. So I think this time, Mr. Maat, I will just purposely skip you. I'm kidding. Obviously, I'm just totally kidding. Mr. Maat, you have 1 minute. Go ahead.
This would be the first of my 7-minute answer. Look, a lot of truth was spoken here. In fairness to Larry's question, I'm going to try to keep this to one policy, and Charles came perilously close to getting the answer right, so I want to give him credit there. Taxation is theft. Let's be honest about that.
Yep.
And the truth of the matter is, Milton Friedman taught us that it's not just taxation that's theft, but all government spending. Because whether government spending is financed through taxation, or whether it's financed through inflation, or whether it's financed through debt, it's all theft. And so the correct answer is, if you only have one bite of the apple, what you want to do is cap federal spending and use the debt, use inflation, use taxation as weapons politically to get that done. Then, once you've got spending capped, you can use that as a weapon against the entirety of the federal budget. Thanks a lot.
All right. Good. That question was not my fault. That was your fault. You guys submitted it, not me. So yes, all right. So anyone want to rebut? All right in line. We went from one thing, now we're at the warfare state. The next question, which I think I will start this time. I just started with Dr. Rectenwald. You started that last one, right?
Yes, I did.
All right. I'm going to start with Mr. Maat, then and go the opposite direction if I would. This is very similar. This is what foreign conflicts and or alliances should the U.S. be involved in? Are there any foreign conflicts or are there any alliances that you believe the U.S. should be involved in? If I could start with you, Mr. Tamat.
Thanks a lot. No.
Okay. Well, that was easy. Maybe I should go 30 seconds? I'm sorry. Chase, go ahead.
I would just say ditto, but I also want to add the fact that, the only time our military should ever be involved in anything is if we're being invaded. So we should never be involved in a foreign conflict. If anything, we should be involved to protect ourselves from domestic invasion. And I will say this, every time we send ourselves overseas, we lose trust with our international neighbors, we make the world less secure and less stable, and we increase the possibility of more death and destruction around the world. So maybe we just need to reverse course and get ourselves back to peace and diplomacy.
Here we go. All right. All right. I am going to shift. I'm not going to go 30 seconds. I'll go 45 seconds.
Yeah, we may not even need 45 seconds for this question here, Larry.
Okay. Well, yes. This is your fault, guys, not mine. You asked these questions, so yes. So please, if you would, Joshua Smith, if you would please, what foreign alliances and or conflicts should we be involved in?
Peaceful diplomacy with all, entangling alliances with none. Absolutely zero. We should end all foreign spending, foreign aid entirely, and all military conflict around the world. Bring them all home. Let them heal, man. That's it.
There we go. Okay. Mr. Hornberger, same question.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but I want to amplify on it. I think we should also end the embargoes and the sanctions that target innocent people. They killed hundreds of thousands of Iraqi children in the 90s with their sanctions. State-sponsored assassinations. How often do we talk about that in this party? By the CIA and the Pentagon. And there's Frank Church. Many of you may remember Frank Church, who's head of the church committee. And there's a great biography on him right now by James Risen. And Frank Church said he was a fierce opponent of the Vietnam War, but he said it's not enough to get out of the Vietnam War because there will always be another war after it. And that's because he said you have this national security state. And so I know I'm repeating myself, but if you want to stop the endless wars, you've got to get rid of the root of this problem, and that's the national security state. Because notice that there's always one war. They got out of Afghanistan, and within a short period of time, they're in Ukraine. And that's what they do.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Dr. Ballay, 45 seconds.
Absolutely. I agree with Josh. I think this country needs to focus on peace and diplomacy. We need to take care of our people here in the United States. We need to get our debt under control. I think we have no place going in other parts of the world in espousing liberty and freedom when we can't practice it here at home. Thank you.
Here we go. Okay. Mr. Olivier, please.
Remember the Maine. Remember the Lusitania, the Oklahoma, the Maddo. All of these ships were attacked, and these were what started the wars. But if you actually look at the history and find out what was behind these attacks or alleged attacks, you find out it was just war propaganda. We need to recognize each time that the war propaganda that we're fed, and every time it's false. And so once we can start recognizing these patterns, we can fight back immediately. When the war propaganda is presented to us, we can say, hey, that's a bunch of BS. We're not buying it. We didn't buy the last one. We're not buying this one. We're not going to war.
Thank you. Dr. Rectenwald, same question.
Yeah, I mean, the entangling alliances that the U.S. is engaged in are unbelievably ridiculous and convoluted and self-contradictory. I mean, we actually supported the Houthis, and of course we supported Al-Qaeda, and of course we supported just about every other terrorist organization, including ISIS. So it is just unbelievable what the U.S. does. and the unbelievable alliances we're willing to make in order for some sort of imperialist ideal. So I would absolutely end them all. What we need is trade. We need cooperation on the international scale. We need to be a beacon on the hill of liberty and prosperity. Thank you.
All right. So I got everybody. Does anybody want to rebut any of that?
No.
Excellent. Easy day. Now, one it may be tougher. I'm going to start this one with Chase, and then come my way. Chase, and come my way. What is the relevance of January 6th regarding the U.S. election system? And what do you think of the government reaction? So what was the relevance of January 6th regarding a U.S. election? And what do you think of the government reaction? This will be 90 seconds, please. Give them full 90 seconds in case, I may be wrong later, but we'll try. 90 seconds. Chase, sorry, Mr. Oliver, please go.
So I don't think it was irrelevant because I think we all turned on the TV and were watching. It wasn't just like a normal day. But I also think that the treatment of people who have been in prison for these crimes, particularly many whom have sat in jail longer than even the maximum sentence of what they were charged with would carry for them, those people shouldn't still be sitting in jail. They've already served whatever maximum term they could serve. And so I'm somebody who wants to see those people released. But what is the significance of it? I don't think it's going to change the outcome of what we're going to be seeing in 2024. One of the two major parties is still going to win the election. One of them will probably, or likely, and it will likely taking the oath of office. We're likely going to have more debt and more war. It didn't change anything. If we're going to have a revolution on the Capitol, it should be to tear down the complete state. And I don't believe in attacking the Capitol to help my favorite authoritarian. And so while I would like to one day see the people rise up and tear down the authoritarian state, I don't think it happened on January 6, 2021. And I don't think that was the intention of what they were doing there. And so frankly, I'm kind of tired of talking about it because I think we should really move forward and start talking about things that actually matter. And that's tearing down the warfare state, the welfare state, and every other abusive that government has us. But if you've been in jail longer than your maximum sentence should be, I don't care what crime it is or where you're arrested for what it is. You shouldn't be sitting in jail any longer. It speaks against the right to a speedy trial. It's unconstitutional, and it needs to end everywhere, not just January 6 protesters.
There you go. Mr. Termont.
Thanks. This is not a criminal justice question. The criminal justice system is messed up, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, in the second hour. This is a political question, and I think we need to recognize that what happened on January 6th was damned important, and I'm not sick of talking about it. Americans were upset. Americans don't trust their government. Do you? The government doesn't trust Americans. That makes January 6th a very important event. Now, coming off of January 6th, how has the government treated Donald Trump? Do not make a mistake here and think I'm going to stand up for that guy, okay? Got a long history. I was in New York in the 80s. I got a long history of decades of disliking this guy for a variety of reasons. But to weaponize the government, to go after that guy and use January 6th as leverage, I think is wrong. I think it's wrong when the other party does it to the Democrats. I think it's wrong for us to say we're going to weaponize because now we know who really needs to go to jail. No, that's not what this is about, all right? January 6th was about a bunch of Americans who don't trust the government, and by the way, they're right to distrust the government. Thanks.
All right. Excellent. Dr. Rectenwald, please.
The significance of January 6th is this. It represents the criminalization of political dissent in the United States. That's the problem. So, thank you. It isn't that simply we had a few people that were deluded by certain claims. Look, there was a complete criminalization of political dissent. We have a veritable gulag system in this country. That's how bad it is. So, yes, we don't have to support Donald Trump to recognize that people are being politically persecuted, and it has to stop. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Mr. Olivier, please.
All the world's a stage, and including January 6th. That was, people went there to protest, and then they were led into the Capitol by Capitol Police or whoever else, let them in there. They were walking through the little velvet ropes, behaving themselves, and somehow this was a terrible insurrection. It was ridiculous. The people that are being that are in jail for this, they should be released, and really, people just really need to look at what really happened there. It wasn't some massive riot or anything else. It was just a whole staged event to make a big thing about nothing.
Okay, great. Dr. Ballay.
I agree wholeheartedly with Dr. Rectenwald. I think this was propaganda, unless there's something that we truly do not know. I can't believe that what we had seen is actually taking place against those individuals that actually stood up for what they believed in.
Okay, great. Mr. Hornberger.
Yeah, in any protest, emotions get hyper accentuated. People get excited. If this was an attempt to take over the government or subvert the government violently, everybody knows what an AK-47 is and an AR-15. Everybody knows about Columbine and Uvalde. There's not one person that went in there and started shooting to take over the government. But there was one murder, and that murder's gone unpunished. Ashley Babbitt, you got it. Clear, cold-blooded murder of a defenseless woman, unarmed woman. And that guy deserves to be indicted for murder. And that's what's going on here. This horrible miscarriage of justice. And if in the far possibility of being elected president, they would be among the first I would pardon. All those people.
Here we go. Thank you. All righty. Mr. Smith, please, same question.
Trigger warning, guys. January 6th. Worse than 9/11. Worse than Pearl Harbor. Worse than Columbine. It's the worst day in the history of America. It hurt everybody. This guided rope tour. Someone picked up a podium. Okay? Someone put their feet on Nancy Pelosi's desk. Okay? They tarnished our altar of American politics. These people were pissed off. We had just spent a year of watching BLM rioters tear down and burn down private businesses all over the country with the advocacy of the federal government. Yeah, exactly. Don't worry, they have insurance. But we tarnished the altar of American politics, and everyone's got to go to jail. These people should be released yesterday. They should have never saw jail time. I want to be very clear. I don't mean the nonviolent protesters. I mean all protesters sitting in jail, all journalists sitting in jail today as political prisoners need to be released yesterday. Thank you.
All right, I think I got everybody, didn't I? Yes, okay. So this is a more broad open question. And this is our last question before we will then eventually get out to you guys. So one more question, a bit broad, then I'll be asking you to come up and give me individual questions for individual people. We're going to start this time, if I could, we'll start with Josh.
All right.
And we're going to come this way, right? No.
Back to back.
No.
What's up, Snake Draft?
Go that way. Yeah, start with Josh and go that way. The question is, 90 seconds again, what is your vision? What was that?
Wasn't me.
All right. What is your vision for the future of the Libertarian Party?
We're going to win. No, I want to be very clear. I am under no illusion that 2024 is going to be the year that we take the White House, okay? But I want to see a presidential campaign in 2024 that sets the stage for a presidential candidate in 2028 to come through and actually make a huge, huge headway in the race. But also I want to see down ballot candidates flourishing all over the country. And to do that, it takes membership. I don't know if you guys have known this. I've sat in national leadership for 2 terms, 4 years. I sat as an at-large on the national board. And I can tell you that the people that are running for office in the Libertarian Party, 95% of the time are members of the party. So when we're going forward as a national party and we have less than 20,000 national members, it's going to be very, very hard to run a decentralized revolution of every state in the country. So we have got to, it is so important to recruit membership into the Libertarian Party, to get people on our side to get active. Not only do they become candidates, they become candidate treasurers, they become campaign managers, they become national and local and state leadership. They do all of these things. They do ballot access petitioning. So it's got to be a big focus of any candidate up here to grow the membership of the Libertarian Party. It's got to be at the forefront of everything we do. And so, you know, I think. Okay, I'll let it go there. That's fine. That's
Okay,
good
good.
enough for me.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Okay, great. Excellent.
It's very important. We'll just leave it there. Very important. Larry knows it's important.
Oh, good. Oh, good. So, heading over to Mr. Hornberger, you have 90 seconds, please.
Yeah, I don't worship at the shrine of membership. You know, I don't consider this a membership organization. We're not the Rotary. We're not a country club. We're not the Kiwanis Club. We are measured, as a political party is measured, by votes. And the votes come in the presidential race. And when you're at 0%, nobody's going to take you seriously. I believe that the entire focus of this party has to be on our message. We need to restore the founding message of this party. And that is a principled message that we hear the candidates here decrying socialism, but they all support. We saw this at the South Carolina debate. They took me to task because I call for the dismantling immediately of Social Security, Medicare, and every welfare state program. They said I lack compassion. How can compassion come from the initiation of force? With taxes that are collected by a coercive apparatus like the Internal Revenue Service, compassion comes from the willing heart of the individual. And it is incumbent on this party to lead this nation to the restoration of the good founding principles of this nation. And we begin by inculcating a belief in private charity, because that's the real character of this nation. We lived without socialism for more than 100 years. And there was the greatest outburst of voluntary charity that mankind has ever seen. And that's what we need to lead, by calling for the dismantling of every one of these socialist programs, not their reform. That's how we lead America to freedom.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You wanted to rebut?
I did, yeah.
Go ahead, please.
Well,
30 seconds.
I'd like to first of all remind Jacob that he's decrying the importance of membership in front of a room full of party members. Second of all, I'd like to also remind you that without those party members, you wouldn't have ballot access to run as president in the Libertarian Party. And I think that you need to understand how important the membership is to this party. Thank you.
Anybody else want to rebut? 30 seconds? Excellent. Good. Doctor,
I'll take a rebuttal.
please, go ahead. Please.
I wish you would.
Just throw one out.
Throw some paper.
Perfect. Yep, 30 seconds. Go ahead.
When you talk about doubling the party membership, it's an acknowledgement that we're at 0% in the polls. That's why they're falling back on this membership thing. And imagine this. They're always targeting Republicans. That's their target audience. Everybody on this stage targeting Republicans. You get flooded by Republicans, and what happens? They bring in their baggage. That's how this party has moved toward supporting this evil and malevolent system of immigration controls. This is why the mainstream press calls us a right-wing political party, because they bring in their baggage, they outnumber us. We are much better off as a small party with principles that garner big numbers of votes out
Thank you,
there,
Mr. Hornberger.
whether they join us or not.
Another
Whether
30?
they
Go
join
ahead.
us or not.
Yep.
What matters is that we get the votes and then the donations that come in from the millionaires. Nobody cares about what your membership is. Everybody cares about what the presidential vote is, because that's how they measure us out there in America.
Okay, hold on, I got a couple.
Chase went first.
Hold on, I got a couple.
okay.
1 second, I have to, 1 second.
Chase hasn't thrown
Now,
one
you got to be clear,
you threw it.
you guys who are throwing,
I just
you're
threw.
still going to go.
Yes, we got that.
Okay, good. Okay, so
Counting on that.
yours? Okay, good. So the first person I saw was Chase. Go ahead.
Oh, he threw his after.
So I want to talk about the importance of membership. Raise your hand here if you've been working in the Libertarian Party and you felt burnt out at one time or another. That's why we need more members, because we need more energy and enthusiasm in this party. We need more door knockers. We need more activists. We need more donors. We need more energy. And I'm committed to doubling our party membership and holding that for the next 4 years. And that is important, because that's how we build our party from the foundation up, from the grassroots. And every time we've had positive change in this country, it begins at the grassroots, and the Libertarian Party will be no different.
What knockers?
Yes, there we go. Yes. So you already spoke, Smith. Let me do Dr. Rectenwald, then I'll come back to you. Dr. Rectenwald, go ahead.
You know, if nothing else has happened during this campaign, I'm very happy that many of the candidates have come around to my positions and my use of language. For example, decentralization, smashing the state, et cetera, et cetera. Thank you very much for that vote of confidence. I would also say that, look, the point is to grow the party from the ground up and then spread from there and have proof of concept at the local level and so forth. Thank you.
All righty, thank you. All righty. Now, Mr. Smith, go
Well,
ahead,
I
please.
want you to know that I threw two chits,
you
in
get a
case you're
minute
wondering.
now.
And the most recent one was to remind Dr. Michael Rectenwald that while he was still voting for Hillary Clinton in 2008, I was already saying words like decentralized. And I'd also like to remind my friend over here, Mr. Jacob Hornberger, that the billionaire class is not the major funders of this party. It is 100% the Libertarian Party members as a whole are the lifeblood of this party. They're the ones who are going to give you ballot access should you get the nomination. They're the ones who have to show up to the national convention and give you the nomination. I'd suggest giving them a little bit more respect than that. Thank you.
All right. Does anybody else want to rebut? Excellent. All right. Thank you, Mr. Hornberger, for that one. That was good. All right. So head over to Dr. Ballay. The question is, what is your vision for the future of the Libertarian Party? You all forgot the question. That is the question. What is your vision for the future of the Libertarian Party?
So what got me into this was the past 10 to 12 years, there's been a growing groundswell of persons across this country that are disenfranchised, and it doesn't matter if you're poor or if you're rich. I see that there's a tremendous amount of success ahead for this party, and perhaps I don't have negative thoughts about this party. I haven't been present for years, and I can't see that there's been a decline. I see values that most people that I know believe in. We just have to get the message across. So what do I think is going to happen with this party? I think this is going to be a banner year. I think this party is not going to win. I think we're going to get 10-15% of the vote, get ballot access, get persons in smaller races across the state, and begin to make a name for the Libertarian Party. We can't start at the top. We're going to start somewhere down towards the bottom and then work our way up. I mean, the people that I talk to believe everything that I tell them. They just don't have the guts to change from Democrats to Libertarians or Republicans to Libertarians. And I disagree. I think that we can get Democrats. Those Democrats that were hardworking people, the people in South Louisiana that worked for the oil industry, they weren't all identifying as Republicans. They didn't have the money to be Republicans. They wanted people to stand up for them. They want to have families. They want to have a good life. This party can do it. This is a perfect year.
Thank you. Mr. Olivier, what is your vision for the future Libertarian Party?
Well, my vision for 2024 was that we would have 100,000 members in the Libertarian Party. Back when I ran for vice president in 2000, we really were moving our way up there. We were over 30,000 members by the time we finished that campaign. And I saw no reason why we wouldn't stop growing. But unfortunately, it's crashed. We're down to, 12,000 members now. So we need to bring that back up to make it a strong party. And then also another thing that needs to be done during this campaign is to look at the states that are going to require a certain percentage of vote to retain ballot access and major party status. Iowa is one of those states. We need to get at least 2% in Iowa to be able to do the caucuses and be a major party in Iowa. And there's several other states. So we really need to concentrate on those because it's not going to be easy this time around because we are not going to be, the third party candidate. It's going to be Kennedy. So it's going to be much more difficult. Even though we didn't get a high number of votes in 2000 because we weren't the third party guy, we weren't the fourth party, we were fifth. And so we didn't get a lot of votes, but we were able to build the party up, and that's what we need to do again this year.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Olivier, just as a resident of Iowa, I wanted to remind you that Mr. Rick Stewart, our gubernatorial candidate last year, got us major party status in Iowa. We have it for the next 4 years. So.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for 4 years?
Oh, nice.
It's over 2%. Yeah, we're a major party now.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Okay, so,
big
Dr.
deal.
Rectenwald, the question is, what is your vision for the future Libertarian Party? You have 90 seconds, please.
Well, I got to say that my vision for the party is not so much for the party, My vision is for the people and what we can bring to them. The Libertarian Party is merely a vehicle. It is not the destination. The destination is liberty itself. So what I think we need to do is hold up the ideals of maximum liberty. Now, no matter what you think of Javier Milei's actual execution of his job, his weeping at the Wailing Wall, what have you, nevertheless, he ran on an anarcho-capitalist platform. That's what we need to do. This will turn people on fire. They're sick of the state totally. It's time to actually oppose it in toto. Thank you.
There we go. All right. Mr. Tremont, you have 90 seconds, please.
Yeah, you just heard truth. That is absolutely correct. Look, those of us who have run for local office in the past know that the value of the Libertarian brand is approximately zero. And I know that hurts a lot of feelings. It hurt my feelings standing in the Walmart parking lot hour after hour after hour. You spend half your time explaining what libertarianism is. Most Americans can't even spell it. And that's despite the fact that they share values with you, as I said before. The reason the presidential campaign is so important is because this is our big opportunity to teach people what libertarianism is, that there is a Libertarian Party, that we can be successful. We are the chief brand ambassador, and that means something. We can help local down-ballot candidates be more successful, and that has to be our vision. And that has to be our vision all over the, whether this is a pink revolution in Colorado, ma'am, or whether this is autumn in Pennsylvania, we need to stand up for the local candidates by being the most differentiated campaign at the national level possible. Principles forward. Thanks a lot.
All right. So, Mr. Oliver, same question, 90 seconds, please.
So what do I see for the future of the Libertarian Party? I see victory for the future of the Libertarian Party. If we can build our party up from the ground up, if we can create a foundation for success, and yes, double our membership, double the amount of people who can get out there and fight for the party, we will have wins all over the country. There are winnable races right now that will be competing in 2024 that if we have a candidate that can get out, identify them, and support them, we can push them across the finish line to victory. I want to talk about one right now. There's a guy named Michael White in Arkansas. He's running in a state legislature race. It is uncontested by one of the two major parties, so it's a two-way race that is winnable. He raised $10,000 on day one. I encourage you all to go support him. But that's the kind of candidate support we need to have from our campaign. Because if we get out there and we support ourselves and we build ourselves up brick by brick, we can start having victories, not just in Arkansas, not just in Pennsylvania, but all over the country. And when we do that, is when we build ourselves up, it's easier to tear the state down. And that's the message that I have for the Libertarian Party. We have victory in our future. Remember this, the Republican Party was once a third party in this country, and they took down one of the major parties and took their place. That's what we can do in this country. As the Republican Party fights between grifters and warmongers, let's take their voters away from them. As the Democratic Party continues to give us old fogies from the 20th century with failure in their resume, let's take those voters, build this party up, and have victory over the next 15 to 20 years, because I want liberty in my lifetime. Don't you?
There you go. I think I got everybody, correct? Excellent. Now I'm going to ask you, please, I want those people who have a question to come to the mic, but here's the question. Please form the question in the form of a question. Make sure we're clear of that.
No debating
You only
from the
have
mic.
a
Correct. And
2-hour
second-
statement,
but
then
hold
a
on,
question.
One more thing. I want the question directed to only one person. Your question is directed to only one person. This round, there'll be a round for others. This round is directed to only one person. So say, this candidate, this is my question for you. If any of you want to rebut, you have your chits if you want to rebut. Go ahead, please.
No, I'm out of chits.
You
Can I get
not-
more? Can I get more chits?
You
No.
will
All
be
right.
going to be quiet this time. Go
No
ahead.
cheating.
My question is for Dr. Ballay. I need a
Guys,
medical
hold on 1 second.
professional to
One-
answer
one
this.
second. 1 second, please. Guys, keep it down, please. Keep it down, please.
Again, for the record, my question is for Dr. Ballay. I'm looking for a medical professional to answer this. In October 2021, I was diagnosed with COVID. I was denied treatment. I was denied monoclonal antibody treatment in Pennsylvania because Pennsylvania was rationing monoclonal antibody treatments. I had to go to Ohio, where the monoclonal antibody treatments were so numerous that I never had to leave my car. They injected me in my car, leaning in through the window. This was like driving from East Germany to West Germany for medical treatment in 1980, and it shouldn't be. Why did some states, including Pennsylvania, reject second-generation monoclonal antibody treatments? Was this because of the Medicare reimbursement schedule? Was this because of Medicaid contract restrictions? Was this because of something else? This was a probable democide on the part of Pennsylvania government officials.
He's answering
How
that question
much
now.
of Pennsylvania's death count is owed to monoclonal antibody restrictions? Please give me any information you can on where to find the parties and policies responsible for this. Thank you.
So I know back in our day at our hospital when we had monoclonal antibodies, they were rationed. They were not unavailable in the state of Louisiana, but there was a limitation on when and how you can get them. Now, how those were being distributed is something I cannot answer the question. I mean, I don't know. I just know when they would come down, when it was to be available, and when you could say, hey, look, you can go to the emergency room and you can get it. And there were actually criteria as well. You weren't going to get these antibodies unless you met X criteria. And if you met those criteria, because it wasn't, we didn't have like Ohio where we had a tremendous amount. I remember that. So you had to meet certain criteria in order to be able to receive those, and the rationing of the care, to my knowledge, was made in order to try to help the persons who were the most ill.
Here we go. Thank you. I hope that answers your question. By the way, that was the 90 seconds. If you have more time if you want to keep going.
Well, that's what I know about.
Okay, awesome, excellent. The next question may not be to Dr. Ballay. The next question may not be to him. It must be to somebody else.
Okay, my question is for Mr. Termott, and
He's not going to be able to abide by your shirt, by the way.
please don't be a jagoff.
Don't, look, Josh. Mr. Smith, you used all your chits.
No, sorry.
Although I would appreciate if all of you would think of this, without compromising your anti-war messaging, without compromising the core message. Could you explain to me how you would adjust it while presenting it to an audience in New England versus an audience in backwoods Tennessee?
Tennessee to New England. How would you message that?
Yeah,
90
and
seconds.
Are you referring to, can I clarify?
Please.
Is this because certain states have greater interests because they have particular bases?
I would
or
like
do you
to
mean
know-
cultural differences?
I would like to know how you would address cultural differences.
Cultural differences. And by the way, I think the two are intertwined, right? There are places in the United States that are culturally intertwined with our war machine and economically tied up with our war machine. And I think, first of all, as a matter of principle, we need to recognize that families whose sons and daughters have fought for the United States, who have joined the military, who have participated in the service, we need to have every respect for their patriotism, as I do. For example, for Josh, we were just talking about this earlier, who is in the military. And, I have enormous respect for folks who are veterans who have served. So I think that the first thing that we need to recognize is that we're not going to talk down to these people. We do need to make the following clear, that it's not just a matter of ethics that is the reason why we need to stand down in terms of military interventionism around the world. It is also a matter of the fact that the United States government is a strategic failure. And I think that people who have participated in this service are sensitive to this argument in a big way because they recognize they don't want the service to be part of a failure, right? But the truth is that the Defense Department of the United States has failed to achieve objectives in the long-run interest of Americans. And for this reason, we need to stand down. Thanks.
Did that answer the question? Where'd the person go?
He left.
Oh, did I answer your question? Wonderful answer. Excellent. Okay, great. Good. Anybody else want to rebut? Excellent. Next question may not go to Mr. Tamat. Go ahead.
Hi, my question is for Dr. Rectenwald. My name is Tony DeRazio. I've been a Libertarian voter since 1996. That includes my 2000 vote for Brown Olivier. So thank you for still sticking around. Dr. Rectenwald, mine is a two-part question. Part one is, what have you done for the Libertarian Party before you declared for the presidential nomination for the Libertarian Party? And part two is, what do you intend to do after you receive the nomination if you do receive that in Washington, D.C. Thank you.
Here we go. All right, 90 seconds.
Thank you very much for the question. So, listen, I wasn't a party operative or functionary. I was working at a different level. I was working at the level of liberty itself, and as a lowercase libertarian, writing and speaking across the country to numerous audiences the liberty message on a number of topics from different topics across the board. So, no, I was not. I was not knocking on doors, but I don't think the party needs a party functionary to represent it. It needs the best representative of the freedom philosophy. Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
And what you do in DC.
Okay, there we go.
Second
So
part.
now the second part is what will you do after?
What I'll do after is continue to fight for liberty and continue to advocate exactly what I'm advocating now. I will continue to work on the decentralized revolution. I will continue to work on anarcho-capitalism. I will continue to fight for liberty, period. Thank you.
All right. Tony, did that answer your question?
Somebody's throwing a chit over here.
Okay. Go ahead, Chase, please. Go ahead, 30 seconds, please.
Yeah, throw it off the table.
I actually do think it's important that we've been in the party for a while, that we understand how our party works, who our party members are, and that we serve the party members. I wouldn't want somebody, if I came into the party and a couple months later I decided I wanted to run for president, most people would have rightfully laughed me out of the room in 2010. And I understand a transformation to libertarianism, but most of your adult life was spent being an avowed Marxist, and I can understand that transformation. But it was most of your adult life. It wasn't like you were an 18-year-old college student. In fact, you were teaching Marxism to 18-year-old college students.
No, that's not
and
true.
so my question, and so I think we do need to have somebody that's been in the party for a while, that's a committed libertarian, and I think that is somebody that should be our standard bearer. We wouldn't want somebody just to come from out of nowhere, to appear out of nowhere and become our standard
Thank
bearer.
you.
And I would argue that,
Do you want to put another chit?
No, I'm good.
No, 1 second. Okay, good. Now, all right. If you want to, you need to throw a chit if you want to. Do you want to do it? Put another
Yeah,
chit
yeah, chit.
Yep, absolutely. Chit chat away. Yes, absolutely. Go ahead, 30 seconds.
Yeah, wait a minute. I want to.
Okay, let him respond, then you can respond.
I think that I was invoked, so let me just say something here. It's actually not a disadvantage that I haven't been a large case libertarian as long as some of the other people here on the stage. In fact, I think it's a distinct advantage. In fact, if Chase Oliver had known anything about the premises of socialism, he wouldn't have let three socialists rant and rave against capitalism for 2 hours without effectively refuting what they're talking about. I actually know what socialism is, what it is theoretically, what it means, how it operates, and what's wrong with it. Apparently he doesn't. So these are actually advantages. Thank you.
Okay, good. There we go. Now let me first go to Mr. Hornberger ask first, and then I'll come back to you, Chase. Mr. Hornberger, go ahead.
How much time do I have?
30 seconds, or you can put 2 and get a minute.
Yeah, I've heard Chase make this attack now 3 times, and it needs to come to a stop. This movement is much bigger than the Libertarian Party. There's think tanks, there's educational foundations, there's people that write op-eds, there's podcasters, and the fact that they haven't been devoting their entire life to the Libertarian Party, but to the movement as a whole, is irrelevant as to who represents this party. This man over here has written 13 books. How many has Chase written? He speaks at conferences. How many conferences does Chase speak at? None. So you have to decide who the best representative of this party is,
Mr. Hornberger.
and it's not necessarily a party operative.
Thank you. So, Chase, did you already throw yours out? Yeah, go ahead, please. 30 seconds.
I'm not saying you have to be a party operative. What I'm saying is you should be somebody that is familiar with the Libertarian Party and our philosophy. And I'm fine for Michael Rectenwald to be a member of the party. I welcome him to the party. I welcome anybody who wants to come into this party to be a member of it. But I think the person who ought to be carrying our standard, or carrying our philosophy forward, should be somebody who has been here for more than a few months. And I don't mean that to speak against think tanks and other groups, but a party is a party, and we need to have somebody who has actually been in the party to represent us in totality.
Thank you, Mr. Oliver. If you do, you have another chit?
I do. I think
You're out of chits, buddy.
Oh, I'm out of chips.
You're out of chits, yes, so you're out. Sorry about that.
SOL,
Sorry.
nevertheless.
Yes. All right. Anybody else want to rebut that? Excellent. Good. Go ahead. But do you guys want me to give them all more chips?
Who's got chips?
Okay, good. No.
Order.
Some of us have saved
Okay,
ours.
Wait a minute. Can we buy one from somebody else's free
relax.
market of chips?
Guys,
Let's go.
Guys, somebody, order if I could, please. Order if I could, please. Guys, one more time. Order, please. $20 a chip. Thank you very much. That was very funny, but we have
You're
something to do here.
advocating for inflation, thereby deflating the value of my currency.
Chamath.
Stop quoting the well.
Can we rip them in half and get 15?
All right. You're making me regret the chit thing, guys. You're making me regret it now. All right, stop. All right, so please go ahead. And this question may not be for Dr. Rectenwald.
This question is for Chase Oliver. You mentioned that you think long-term the Libertarian Party can be one of the two major parties. Which party do you think it will replace? And how do you think you'll be able to do that long-term?
Well, right now, the conditions, I think, are in place for the Republican Party to implode. And because they're engaged in an internal civil war between the Trumpistas and the national war hawks of the Nikki Haley's of the world. And so I see greater instability right now in the Republican Party than the Democratic Party. Not to say that the Democratic Party doesn't have its own flaws and could obviously have their own infighting, the Bernie bros versus the Biden folks. But I really see more instability in the Republican Party, more ability for them to fall. If you look at some of their state parties, they're practically bankrupt right now, and that's because even their own voters don't have faith to give them the money that they used to. And so I naturally think, as a party that believes in decentralization, smaller to no government, limiting the ability for government to invade your rights, being anti-war, I think all of these play better to take down the Republican Party as it currently exists, because they like to talk the talk about things like fiscal restraint and how they're going to be patriotic and protect this country, but what they've done is the exact opposite. So I think it's just, both are completely hypocritical. It's very easy to point out the hypocrisy of both, but I think if we're going to tear down one and not the other, I think it's far easier for us to tear down the Republican Party as it currently exists. Thanks.
There we go. Thank you.
If
Yes, Mr. Maat, 30
if I may?
seconds, please.
Okay, for 15 seconds.
No, 30 seconds. No. You're always playing your games. Chuck it, Termont. 30
I
seconds.
tried, buddy. I
Chuck
tried.
it. 30 seconds.
I tried. In that case, I got to spend 30 seconds talking about how bad the Democratic Party is. I think everything Chase just said is absolutely right. But we need to move not to a two-party system, but to a multi-party system. The fact that we have a two-party system is part of the inherent is part of the inherent corruption in our system. We can't have a two-party system and let them continue to leverage fear against the other. By the way, you know who agreed with this and leaned across and looked at us and said so was your friend Bobby Kennedy, who actually we convinced him that the two-party system was inherently corrupt.
Thank you very much.
Republicans suck and Democrats suck.
There you go.
Yes.
Picture.
All righty. Anyone
Picture.
else want to rebut? Excellent. All right. We're only going to have time for 4 more. Only 4 more. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You're the last one. Sorry.
Ken Crouch up.
Yes,
last one.
he's the last one. Go ahead, please. And this one who just got the chase? This may not be the chase.
Oh, come on.
Then swap out.
You guys allowed everyone to pile up on Charles.
No, I did not. Hold on. Be very clear. I allowed
No one
nobody
has
to
asked
get twice
Josh
in a row.
or Jacob a
Just-
question.
I just
right.
want nope.
All right, we
Hold on
switched.
1 second. Go ahead.
But what if the rest of us happen to want to ask?
Then you're gonna have to sit down and get someone else up. I'm not gonna let you beat up one person twice in a row.
It's not beating up.
It is. So yeah.
Michael, ask
not
your
twice in a
question.
row.
I don't care.
Go
Ask
ahead.
it now if you want to.
Yeah. No. Let's
That's
go
okay.
in order.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
All right. I'll ask a question for Josh.
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Yeah. So you didn't get this question because you weren't at the North Carolina convention, but I thought it was a good question. I wish you had a chance to answer it. I know you're a fellow Christian. Can you explain just kind of like how you connect your Christian values to your political philosophy and how that affects how you're trying to appeal to the voters as you're going out there campaigning?
Sure. I think 70% of the population of the United States today identifies as some type of Christian. I believe there's a huge Christian contingent in this country, whether we want to accept that or not. I do not believe that my entire religious philosophy needs to tell me how to govern. I think that most of the Bible is set in free will for the people that live in the world. And so I believe that free will is very important, but I do hold some values of the Bible and Christianity near and dear. I think we shouldn't be allowed to murder people. I think that's pretty obvious. I think that the constant warfare goes against all of our religious beliefs in several different religions. So there are certain aspects that I think coincide with libertarianism, especially. as far as Christianity goes. So there are things that I think are moral and good and in line with our philosophy that I would like to see legislated or abolished, for that matter, if there's things that we could abolish as well. So thanks for the question, man. Thoughtful. I appreciate it.
There we go. Alrighty. Now you may not, please do not ask Josh. Ask anybody but Josh.
Okay. So I have a two-part question. So Chase, first, I love your focus on membership. I totally agree. We need an explosion of membership, and that's the most important thing in the party. However, at a recent debate in Georgia, you accused Lew Rockwell, the founder of the the Mises Institute, of being a racist. In the past, you have lobbed similar accusations at people like Dave Smith, Tom Woods, and their supporters. So question one is, how do you, well, the most likely place that we're going to get members is from the Liberty movement to get these bodies. So how do you expect to get those members when you're saying these types of things about libertarians and the biggest libertarian voices? And second of all, how many members did your campaign in Georgia bring into the Georgia party?
Okay, so I'll start with that first question. I actually didn't claim that in Georgia. It was asked of me. I answered the question. Now, here's the truth about that. I made a tweet that pissed some people off. But the exact same day I made that tweet, I also got knocked out on hundreds of doors. I worked for the Libertarian Party as a candidate. And let he who has had a criticism of a Libertarian or Libertarian Party cast the first stone. Now, I'll be frank with you. I want to see our party grow, and I do believe that means reaching out to members all over the country. Now, how many individual Libertarian Party members did I get? I don't have that information available, but what I did do is I got 81,000 voters to vote for a Libertarian in the most expensive Senate race that's ever existed. $250 million is what the Democrats and Republicans had to lob at us. I had $20,000 in my own feet and knocking on doors. And because of that, I forced a runoff in the most expensive, most highest visibility race in 2022. I put the Libertarian Party on the map and our principles forward in every state in the country. I got calls from all over the country after I forced that runoff. I'm proud of that race. I'm proud of the ability that the work that I've done with the Libertarian Party, and I'm going to continue to do that work. And frankly, just be honest with who I am. And if I have opinions, that's fine. If it triggers you, I'm sorry. But words are words, actions are actions, and they speak far louder. And I'll continue to be a candidate for the Libertarian Party in the future. Thanks.
You did call Lew Rockwell a Nazi in Georgia, though. Yes, you did. You said F. Yes, he is.
Stop.
F, yes.
Yes. Stop. Smith, you threw your stuff
Didn't say
away.
it was a Nazi.
Anybody
Yes,
else
you did.
want to rebut? Excellent. Good. Please, this may not go to Chase.
That's fine. My question is for my good friend Jacob Hornberger. But before that, Pennsylvania is expecting me to ask this. Just a quick show of hands. How many of you are or were a Toastmaster? There you go. All right.
I enjoy toast.
I've been taking notes all night. And the best one that I heard all night, my apologies not remember who said it, don't condemn the biggest majority of voters, that's bad politics. I wrote that down. I'm running for governor. I'm going to take that to heart. Jacob, 3 times today you said eliminate Social Security. Dude, what are you doing?
Okay, there we go.
I support you. You're great. We go back years. You're the only non-Pennsylvanian I've had on my Pennsylvania Project radio show.
So,
what are you doing?
What are you doing? 90 seconds.
I'm opposing socialism, which is what this party's supposed to stand against.
Agreed.
This is the crown jewel of American socialism. It's also what divides us in this race. Every one of my opponents here on this stage that were at the South Carolina debate took me to task and said there will be people dying in the streets. Pure nonsense.
Lies.
We have to stand for the dismantling of socialism. When I brought up my opening statement, 0%, this is what I'm referring to. We are supposed to be a party of principle. If you're going to be a party of principle, you've got to adhere to principle. If you take a vow not to support the initiation of force, you have to live up to that vow. And Social Security and Medicare violate that vow. We've got to lead America to freedom. That's our job in this party. And you cannot be free when you've got a 25-year plan to support Social Security. I'm not interested in a 25-year plan for freedom. I want freedom in my lifetime. Imagine Patrick Henry saying, I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me Social Security, Medicare, school vouchers, immigration controls, or give me death.
Thank you.
There we go.
That was good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Guys, please cut the chatter. We can hear you up here. Please cut the chatter.
And
Please
by
cut
the way,
chatter.
I'm
Thank
taking
you.
an counter report for you Toastmasters. Mr. Ballay, you need Toastmasters.
That was uncalled for. Okay, yes. Please, our final question, and please, it may not be to who's the last one who just got asked the question? Hornberger. It may not be asked to Mr. Jacob Hornberger.
Okay, I'm asking this question to Chase, and Chase, I love you. Please don't take any of this personally. It's just that there's been some background chatter, and I just would rather hear something directly from you rather than from others. If I may give it, just so you know where I'm coming from, to tailor the answer to where my felt needs is. I'm an abolitionist. I don't believe in replacing one form of government with another. Do you support adding a national income tax, otherwise known as the fair theft or fair theft
Do you
or
mean
fair
a sales tax?
Yeah, I'm talking about
No.
eliminating the income tax and replacing it with a national income tax. I call it the fair theft, but most people call it the fair tax.
Yeah, so my answer on any form of taxation is anything that we can do that reduces the amount of taxation that's coming out of people's pocket, I would support. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean a sales tax. A sales tax, if you enact it, it could be far higher than what the income tax does to us. But if we could enact any version of taxation that is less than what we have today, less being taken out of our pockets to go fund a warfare state, less being taken out of our pockets to go fund all the abuses, the eminent domains, the welfare state, all these things, I would support. And so if there was a bill that would replace what we have with something that was less expensive or less taking less taxes, I would say that that on its very face is better than what we have. But it doesn't necessarily have to be sales tax or income tax or excise tax or whatever. All I want to do is reduce the amount of taxation because taxation is theft, and I would like the government to steal less out of each and every one of our pockets. It doesn't matter the mode or the operation that it takes. I would support anything we can do that reduces the amount of taxation. I think what we should do with the income tax is remove all subsidies and all deductions and just lower the rate. At least we would know what the rate is that everyone pays. Right now we have a system where we don't know what each person pays, so it's very easy for us to be divided by class and say, we're only going to tax the rich, we're only going to hurt the rich. Well, we don't really know what anybody's actually paying, so the truth is we're all getting screwed by the IRS and taxes. And so, would I replace it? Only if, and only if, it reduced the amount of taxation that went out of people's pockets. Otherwise, it's immoral, it's wrong, and it's more theft. So I oppose it.
There we go. Okay.
Hi, Larry.
Maat, you want to use two of those? You have 1 minute then if you'd like to.
I would like to
rebut
use
that
two
question.
of these. It's a big Jeopardy.
One of
all
those is
in.
mine, I think.
First of all, I'd like to agree with Karen Ann. I also love Chase. But fortunately, unfortunately, that's just the wrong answer. The answer is no, that we would not support the replacement of income tax and other tax. And this is for two different reasons. And importantly, for two very different reasons. One is that politically speaking, you're only going to get one bite of the apple. If you're only going to get one bite of the apple politically, please don't waste it on replacing the income tax with another income tax, okay? If you're only going to get one bite of the apple, let it be sunsetting income tax completely. This is absolutely critical. We need a different relationship between us and the federal government, and that means making states stand up for us. If the federal government needs money, and we all believe it doesn't, to the extent to which it does, it needs to go to state legislatures to get it. It shouldn't go directly to individuals. The other reason is that it's not just taxation that's theft. It is all spending. And if you allow the government to tax, or if you don't allow government to tax, as long as you're allowing it to spend, it'll find other ways to take it out of your hide.
Thank you. All right.
Larry?
Yes. Please, go ahead. 30 seconds. Go ahead, please.
I want to take Chase to task on this because this is one of my real beefs with his reform-oriented message. This is a party that stands for the abolition of the income tax. And he stands for lowering taxes. And when in his debate with Senator Warnock, he had an opportunity to let the people of Georgia know where we stand. And he says, I will be a better proponent of small government and lower taxes than the Republican Herschel Walker. Smaller government. That means smaller ATF, smaller DEA, smaller Homeland Security, smaller ICE, smaller Border Patrol, smaller tyranny.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes. Chase, go ahead. 30 seconds.
I want to respond to this. When I say smaller government, I mean the minarchist ideal. I mean having law enforcement, courts, and a military to protect us from sovereign invasion. That's what I mean when I say smaller government and limited government. When I say what I would do to lower taxes, if I am president and anything comes to my desk that lowers taxes, even if it's short of the ideal of absolute abolition, which I would support, I support a voluntarily funded minarchist state. But in reality, if you're a president and something comes to your desk to lower the taxation on people, you sign that. You lower the people's taxes, and you quit letting the government rob them so much. There's no difference between making the perfect the enemy of the good. The perfect is an absolutely voluntarily funded minarchist state, in my opinion. But the good is reducing taxation at any level, and we can fight for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Does anyone else have any chits left?
I've got a bunch.
Okay, you do. Go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to give a little history on the.
You want to use 1 or 2 or 3?
Oh, I got 2. What the heck?
2. 1 minute.
All
Go
right.
ahead, please.
So, a little history on the income tax. This was enacted back when the Federal Reserve Act was enacted. And what it did was we needed the income tax, the bankers needed the income tax, because they needed to use the American people as collateral for the loans that they would lend the government now that they controlled the money supply. So then so first it was the Federal Reserve Act, and then it was the income tax. Now, it was only going to be 1% of the people would be taxed 1%. That's it, you know. And, of course, we've gone up a little bit since then. So then what was the next step was, after they had the Federal Reserve Act, after they had the income tax, now they needed something to require money to be lent to the government. And of course that required a war. And that's how we got into World War I, and that's how we've been in a war ever since then. So that the Federal Reserve can continue lending money to the government, and then we would have to pay back the interest on the money that they lent to the government with our taxes. And so if we just simply defaulted on the banksters and then brought the troops home, there is no need for an income tax.
Here we go. Thank you. All right. So you have 2 left? Any left? You have 3 left. You have 1 left, right? Okay, great. So we're going to move now, if we could. We're going to move right now to our final statements, our end statements today. And everyone will have 1 minute. We'll start with Dr. Rectenwald and go that way. And then we'll have 2 minutes, minute and a half, because they have chits remaining. So they get their 30 seconds and their chit for their end. So we'll start with Dr. Rectenwald, go that way, 1 minute each, then 2 minutes, and a minute and a half. Dr. Rectenwald, you have 1 minute, please.
I want to thank everybody for coming out and fighting for liberty on this drizzly day. And I want to say that the minute I say that that minarchy is an ideal, please strike me dead. Minarchy is a compromise. What we need is the maximum ideals of liberty. No compromises. We need to be on fire for liberty. That's what it's going to take, almost a religious fervor. That is our that's the ethos, that's the passion, that's what we need. We need to carry this forth. It isn't enough to have policy prescriptions. It isn't enough to be a party operative. It is necessary to be a leader. That's what I bring. Thank you so much.
Mr. Termat, you have 1 minute, please.
Thanks very much, and thanks for putting up with us for so long. It's been a real joy to sit here and shout at all of you and at each other. I think we all had a good time, and thanks for putting up with me. I appreciate it. I love all you guys. Look, even if your answers are terrible, I think you guys are terrific. Michael is absolutely right that it is not enough just to have great policies, but you do have to have great policies. I would encourage all of you to go check out our platform at goldnewdeal.org. It's easier to spell than MikeTremont.com. And goldnewdeal.org lays out a real important platform that changes the relationship between us and government. And I think that that's absolutely what we need. And I believe it is also something for which the American public is ready. Americans, more than ever before, are waking up to the idea that many of the problems in the United States that we have, some of our biggest problems, are the result of bad public policy. And for this reason, they're going to give our party a good look. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Yes. All right. I do want to stop for 1 second, if I could. I'm going to make sure I give everybody one of these. Everyone down here. We also get to vote, by the way, right? We are doing this voting also. So please take one of these and pass it down. You also get to vote. It is approval/disapproval voting.
We get to vote too?
Yes.
It's
you can
approval
vote. If I
and
remember right-
disapproval.
Am I saying this right? Who's you're running this correct? Yes.
And one disapproval.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh, this is complicated.
There we go. So you can pick up two. You can approve.
Just
Yeah.
to be honest with you.
Extra.
Need a pen.
Thank you. You may approve of two and disapprove of one.
Okay.
Two or less.
There's a Mike Tremont pen. That's a good
Excellent.
one.
Good.
Yeah,
All righty.
I see
Great.
that.
So,
That's a shitty
guys,
one.
can I get you guys here? We good?
I thought you were going to mark
I'm
it
good
for
to
me.
go.
Excellent. All right. 1 minute, Mr. Oliver, please.
So I want to say thank you to the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania for having me out here. This is my third time in the state. I've traveled to 44 states so far in this process on my way to traveling to all 50. No Libertarian candidate for president has ever traveled to all 50 states before, either pre or post nomination. I'm going to be happy to break that glass ceiling for our party because we are a national party with a national identity, and we deserve to let Libertarians know all over the country that there are Libertarians running for president. I am so proud of the campaign that we have run, and I think the metrics for this campaign right now speak for itself. We have the most number of donors, we have the most number of volunteers, the most miles traveled, the most media coverage, and we are on path to win this nomination and really break through the two-party static by giving people something to vote for. I want each and every Libertarian or each and every voter out there who has a Libertarian idea to get in the tent and let's connect them to liberty. Let's build this party from the foundation up so we have more members, more energy and enthusiasm so we can win, not just in 2024 here in Pennsylvania, all over the country, but so we can win foundationally by building ourselves up and tearing the state down. I encourage you to join the team by going to votechaseoliver.com. We need your energy, we need your support, and I need your vote as delegates out of Pennsylvania. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, you have 1 minute, please.
Sweet. I'm not going to give a huge pitch here. First of all, I just want to say thank you to the Libertarians of Pennsylvania for coming out and enjoying this evening with us. I've traveled a lot around the country with these guys. I've really gotten to know all of them. I know it seems like I hate everyone on this stage. It's not true. I really like
We love
these
you,
guys.
buddy.
Yeah, I really like these guys. I've grown to be good friends with a lot of them. They're all great. We have fundamental policy disagreements very, very rarely, and when that happens, we're fiery because we're fired up about these ideas. And that's exactly who I am. I'm a fiery guy. If you guys have followed me at all while I've been in the party, you know that I'm brash, I'm bold, I'm fiery. I'm going to go out and sell these ideas the way they need to be sold. Period. Plain and simple. I'm not going to take any no's. You know what I mean? I'm going to go out there and I'm going to fight to get us in debates. I'm going to get all the media that I can. I've already done Timcast 3 times. We've been on Stu Peters twice. We're working on going on PBD. We're working on going on Sean Ryan. We're going to get all the media that we wanted to see out of a candidate. We're doing that now. I'm a blue-collar, working-class guy that can absolutely connect with the middle class in America who's the most hurt by this federal government today. Please go to joshuasmith2024.com and give us your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hornberger, you have 1 minute, please.
Yeah, I want to join them in saying thank you all. Ken reminded me that the very first Libertarian Party convention here in Pennsylvania that I attended was in 1995. It's nice to be back. I started out by saying that we're at 0% in the polls, and I believe there's a reason for that. When you got a party that's defending socialism, even while decrying socialism, people are not going to vote for that kind of message. Not for a party that violates its own core principles, or that supports an immigration control system that is socialist-based and that brings death, suffering, and a police state to the border. I'm saying that it's possible to break out to the 10 to 15%, but only by restoring the founding principles of this party: open borders, dismantle socialism immediately, restore faith in freedom and voluntary charity. If we break out there, then freedom is in play. And everything falls into place. Membership, donations, and everything. Nobody cares about you at 0% or 1%, but they care a lot when all of a sudden you're at 10 to 15%. And that's what our principles can do.
Thank you. Excellent. Thank you. Dr. Ballay will have 2 minutes. If you can put 2 minutes on his timer, if you don't mind. If you can go less if you like, but you do have 2 minutes. Dr. Ballay.
First of all, I'd like to
Go
say
ahead.
thank you to each and every one of you for the opportunity to speak before you. This is a great honor for me. I think this party holds a lot of success, or has a lot of success in its future. I spend my life taking care of people. I've spent my entire adult life taking care of people, and I really cherish that quite a lot. And I love this country, and I love these values. And I don't think many people realize this year how much opportunity this party has to bring party members into this organization. I think if we play our cards right, I mean, we can bring a tremendous amount of success. We espouse freedom, individual liberties, personal autonomy, fair tax, fair immigration. All of these things resonate if we can just unify around our party and our members and begin to bring other persons into this. I do not believe in big government. To go back to the original statements, I don't think that your body is property of the federal government. I truly hold our values very, very sacred and dear. I don't know, in the state of Louisiana, we don't have near the number of memberships of Libertarians. So the people that I speak to that actually believe in our message are Democrats and Republicans, because that's who I know in work. I think if we play our cards right, we can do very great things this fall. So thank you very much for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. LeVay will have 1 minute, 30 seconds, please, if you put that on. Mr. LeVay, please.
Okay, yeah, I think the candidates up here are doing a great job. They're spending a lot of money that I wouldn't be willing to spend on trying to get the Libertarian nomination. But I think that everybody up here, because only the maximum of one of us would be your candidate, the rest of the candidates, I think that they need to look at actually winning a race. It is so important what you can do as an elected Libertarian. I mean, cut taxes, stop eminent domain, did all the things that we talk about doing, privatizing services, completely turned a city around and changed people's lives. And so after this is over in the end of May, when there's only one of us at the most that is going to be our nominee, then step back and look at actually looking at a race that's winnable, and getting out there and doing it. Because I mean, these guys up here on this stage, these are excellent candidates. There's no reason why any one of these guys wouldn't get elected to a city council or a school board or any other race. And so hopefully we're going to have more candidates after the end of May, and we're going to be having some winning candidates. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to say thank you to all of the people who came, all of you who watched. Have a wonderful night. Thank you all.